How do you teach children around you about autism? As autism parents, this is our obligation. Embracing the spectrum. Hi everyone. What I'm going to talk to you about today, or what I'm going to share, is something very personal. So, as you well know by now, I'm a mother of two boys. One is 15 and a 5-year-old boy on the autism spectrum. He's nonverbal and requires constant supervision. Sometimes I feel he's aware of danger, sometimes I feel he's not. So whether inside or out, we have to watch him like a hawk. It reminds me of a song by Ludacris that we used to listen some time back. When I move, you move, just like that. So that is our life. Anyway, but so far, so good. Because as at now, I'm really proud and grateful about his social skills, which have so much improved. But I can't ignore the challenges. His past struggles with aggression made other kids a bit wary of him. And even now, his attempts to be friendly are often met with stares, laughter, and sometimes outright exclusion, which makes me very sad. There's this one time when he wandered out, just out of my sight, only for me to hear a sharp scream. And like any other mother, I just know. Just by his body language, I knew something had happened. I knew he had been pushed, maybe hit, but he can't explain it since I already told you he's nonverbal. And that helplessness fueled an anger I struggled to suppress. I felt some kind of resentment. So I took my child, we went indoors, I comforted him, and from the way he cried, it felt like he was so offended, because usually on a normal day he would cry a little and keep quiet, but that day he went on and on, and really it just disturbed me so much, so that I just took my phone and on WhatsApp I started confiding in my dear neighbor. Well, she's more than just a neighbor, she's my friend, my confidant, and more like a sister. Could you give me one word for that? I don't know. So I expected sympathy, a little empathy, maybe a comforting hug, Berlin. But instead, she hit me with a truth I wasn't ready for. So this is what she said. I only learned about autism in my late 30s. These kids may take time to understand him, but they need a lot of adult support. So far, we haven't really offered any. Well, she was right and it stung. So I went on ranting and whining about the way those kids could have done something bad to KK, the way that he cried too much, and the way they should learn to treat people fairly. And then she went on and said, "You're expecting 5-year-olds to reason like you?" Wow, that cut deep. Like, this woman is not even feeling me. She still went on. Someone like Casey is her daughter. Someone like Casey has never interacted with a child on the spectrum. Well, KK was the first. How would she know how to relate to him? In fact, it's KK that made me realize I need to have that conversation with her. Otherwise, I would have never thought that it was necessary to teach her. Well, that conversation felt less like a casual chat and more like a lecture I hadn't signed up for. But I've gone back to those messages like a student revising for exams, word for word. Where has this woman been all my life, knocking some sense into me? Which brings me to today's topic. How do we teach the children around us to understand and relate to a child on the spectrum? We might just be getting angry for nothing, yet we should have done something in the first place. What are the simple ways to teach kids about autism? So I went just to research a little and learn slowly, because I realized I cannot implement all these things at once, because I have first to create a friendship with these children and then slowly practice what I have learned. So here are just a few tips that I came across. I realized I need to be talking to them like little children. More like, just to make them understand, I would use phrases like, "He understands things differently," or "He speaks with his hands." That can go a long way. So at least I've been using such phrases every once in a while, and the kids seem to actually be able to relate. So when they see him directing them or trying to hold their hand, they would let him hold their hand and direct them to what he wants them to do. Then I've learned to start preaching kindness or encouraging the kids around us to be kind, not just to KK but to each other. Reminding them that just like they have things they find hard to do, some kids also have challenges too. So kindness makes a huge difference. I hope that would help you too. I've talked a lot about play therapy, and most of the time I realized I've been doing that with my child and my child alone. So I have learned to start playing with all the other children, showing them how to invite a child with autism to play, even if it is just sitting near them. Because of course, before a child on the spectrum knows how to play with them, he has to learn how to be around them. So at times I realize that KK does not really play with them, but just being near them feels really nice. The other thing would be teaching the children around to be empathetic and not sympathetic. So we teach them empathy and not pity. So instead of, like, at times KK would do something out of the norm and they would laugh. So instead of telling them don't laugh at him, I call one and say to them, how would you feel if someone laughed at you? And I would make them respond. That way they are able to relate that whatever they did was wrong. And then at times I call them randomly and enable them or teach them how to celebrate differences. I help them see that everyone is unique in their own way, and that's what makes friendships very interesting. Like, we have people from different races in the compound. We have people who look differently. Like, we have some Ethiopian kids who have long hair and they're very light, while we have some dark kids. So I use such examples to show them that we are all different, but we are able to be friends. So our differences make this friendship very interesting. To my fellow autism parents and caregivers, we need to realize that this conversation begins with us. It begins with us to teach the community on how to relate with our children and not feel bad and judgmental when people treat our children the way they do. Most of the time it is out of ignorance, lack of knowledge. So if you're watching this and you're also not a parent of a child on the spectrum, you could help us spread this message. Ask the parents, the neighbors, and the community. Because expecting little ones to just figure it out is a setup for failure. So how do you teach your children around you about autism? These are just a few tips, very minimal. I know so many of you have very many ideas on how you would teach your children. I'm so new at this. Let us discuss on the comment section.